Despite Elwin's reputation as a scamp, I felt drawn to his bold spirit. Not even Elwin knew his true potential. I saw it, though, when we were lost in the forest with all sorts of bandits and creatures around us. He was probably more afraid than he had ever been in his life. Yet, he seemed more concerned with my mood. He kept trying to make me laugh. I will always love him for that.
Luckily, that night I dressed in a brand new ensemble. My shirt and trousers were purple silk accented with white lace. I wore a wide-brimmed hat adorned with peacock feathers and a belt of golden discs. My knee-high boots were made of snow rabbit fur. I had spent most of my money on the outfit, and I think fate made me wear it because that was the first time I set eyes on Shaera. Ever since the day she entered the elven court, everyone claimed she was the most beautiful woman in all of Aranorn. Now, I had heard that title thrown around many times before, and in a court filled with countless beautiful women, I never understood what made one stand out from another. But Shaera was different. Her waist-length hair glimmered like rays of golden light poking through the treetops. Her large eyes, the color of a clear winter sky, dominated her slender face, and they were capable of piercing your soul. I danced with her for more than 2 hours that night, and soon I learned that Shaera wasn't just a beauty. I've danced with lovely women in the past, but abandoned them when I found their personalities about as interesting as a rotting log. Shaera was different. She was quiet, but intelligent. And I got the sense that she longed for something but didn't know what, just as I have my entire life. That's when I asked her, "What do you do in the room?" When you're not capturing the hearts of every man. Shaera looked deep into my eyes as if seeing me for the first time and smiled at me. That's when I fell in love. Shaera is the kind of woman that makes you do things you wouldn't normally do. She can make a lazy man athletic and a greedy man a philanthropist. She inspired me to draw on a few favors so I could be named one of the druid advisors for a diplomatic journey along the coast of Aranorn. I didn't exactly enjoy traveling through the wilderness, and I liked sea travel even less. But this was my chance to steal a few moments with Shaera without the prying eyes of the elven court watching us. The only person I had to worry about was her father, Gramin. Gramin was the leader of this expedition. He was supposed to visit the port towns to solidify their relationship with Aranorn and hopefully bring them completely under the loose authority of this new elven nation. I soon found out that Gramin had tried to block my appointment to this mission. Why, I didn't know. Luckily, he was unable to sway the vote. I have a feeling that Mina, that my mentor and strongest supporter, had something to do with it. It was nice to have a member of the Elder Council as a good friend. And if I had known Gramin would be so vigilant in keeping his daughter away from me, I might not have bothered. We were on our 8th day of travel when Shaera and I finally managed to sneak up onto one of the masts to talk and stare at the stars. Above in the crow's nest, we could hear the soft snoring of the watchman. I had slipped him a sleeping draft earlier so Shaera and I could be alone. If you ask me, it was about time my druid training came in handy. I impressed Shaera with my knowledge of the heavens, naming every star she pointed out. "Let me show you my favorite ones," I said. She rested her head against my arm to stare along its path as I pointed to the eastern horizon. But all I could think about was the beautiful smell wafting up from her hair. I closed my eyes, knowing that I would remember that scent forever. "There," I said, "just above the skyline. See the blue one next to the red star, almost touching, in time together. Those are the lovers. They blink. And why do you show me those stars, Elwin?" Shaera said, toying with me. Before I could answer, though, a shadow passed across the lovers, down to a larger darkness floating across the sea. To be any mistake, I tensed as I followed the shadow. It was a ship, and it was approaching us too quickly. The pirates attacked so quickly that most of the crew was still below deck when the rogues swung across on ropes to our ship. There were fires everywhere. Horrible. I don't remember much except the screaming and clanking of metal on metal. Smoke burned the eyes, and people everywhere were dying. It was all I could think about was getting Shaera to safety. We made it to one of the dinghies, and thanks to the battle being fought on the 2 ships, I cut it free and escaped into the darkness unnoticed. We watched from a distance as both ships burned. Shaera cried on my shoulder, for she did not know her father's fate. You hear a painful yowling coming from somewhere off the path, and for a moment you consider heading in the other direction. You've heard plenty of bards' tales, and people always die while investigating strange sounds. But you can't stand the moaning any longer, so you creep quietly from tree to tree. You must be close, but you can't see anything. Could it be some forest spirit? You've heard the stories about them too, and they're never pleasant. Then you nearly put your foot in it. Pit, that is. You drop to your knees and stare down into the steep hole. At the bottom is a small wolf pup, clawing pitifully at the sides of the trap as it howls for help. It seems to be favoring one of its hind legs as well, most likely injured during its fall. Hold on, little guy. You say as you search for a branch or a log, some way to get the pup out. Of course, you find nothing large enough to help. It's probably only a few inches shy of 7 feet deep. For once in your life, your tall, thin body is good for something. So you circle the pit a couple times, studying it closely. Even a grown wolf couldn't climb out of that, but you take out your dagger and stab it firmly into the ground at the edge of the pit so you can use it as leverage when you have to climb out, and then you jump in right next to the pup. The small wolf barks and growls as you reach for it. It even snaps at your hand, ripping off a bit of flesh. Ow! I'm just trying to help, you say. But you sense that the creature is more frightened than it has ever been in its life. There isn't going to be any easy way to do this, so you quickly snatch up the wolf pup. You lift it toward the top of the pit, wincing as it scratches and nips at your arms. Finally, the pup realizes where it is and leaps to the forest floor. You hear it scurry away. You're welcome, you say. Your hands and forearms now look like you rubbed thorns across them, and the sleeves of your silk tunic are ruined. This was the thanks you got. It takes little effort for you to lift yourself out of the pit trap, but as you reclaim your dagger, you realize you are not alone. As silent as a whisper, a pack of wolves surrounds you. You stammer, I didn't dig this hole. Honest. You remain still, afraid that the wrong move will get you killed. Even when a large, black female steps from the pack, you don't budge. She nervously presses her wet muzzle into your palm, sniffs, nudges, and then licks your hand. Her tail begins to wag happily. Seems you've made a few friends. You pause to wash off some of the grime collected during your hike, quickly realizing that you will never be properly clean until you return to the elven court. A hot bath is what you need, but you wash your face and hands, and you're about to take a bath when you notice some tiny faces hiding in the bushes at the edge of the pool. Hey you, come out of there. Even before you see them, you recognize the giggle of a sprite. What were you doing? You ask. Watching, says one. Yeah, we were wondering if you were 2 elves in one, says another. Aha, you're so tall. I bet you got another person in there under your pretty clothes. You know from experience that if given the freedom, a sprite will talk all day, so you interrupt. No, it's just me, you say. Maybe you can help. My name is Elwin. I'm a druid of the elven court, and I seem to be lost. You're a druid? Says one. You don't look like a druid. No, he looks like a funny, tall, singing minstrel man. A tall, skinny, colorful tree, yes. What kind of tree is he? You raise your hands again, sighing because even sprites are joking about your size. Can you help me? You ask. Think about it. If you join me, you can make jokes about me all day long. The sprites fly in circles over the pool, giggling and hooting with pleasure. Then one of them waves at you. Sounds like fun. Follow us to our home. We want to tell the others too, she says. had not known there were small elven communities this far from central Aranorn. I guess my people had spread out farther than I thought after the reckoning. I have found the people of Dandelion pleasant but paranoid. They fear just about everyone, and understandably so. They have been under constant attack from pirates and other bandits for years now. Every day is a struggle for these people, especially since they lack any sort of army or leadership. Choosing to live so far from other elves wasn't their only mistake. Unfortunately, they have also chosen me to lead them simply because I mentioned that I am a member of the Elven Court. Now, they're asking me to deal with the criminals in this region. If I didn't need their help to get Shaera to safety, I would sneak off in the middle of the night. Just about anyone would be better suited to lead. I would be doing them a favor by running away, but I had Shaera to think about now. Ever since we washed up on shore, Shaera has been somber and quiet. I've been more concerned with getting us to safety than anything else, but I can no longer look upon her worried expression. Her face simply wasn't meant to hold lines of sorrow. So, this morning I scrounged up some apples, and at noon we stopped to rest near a trickling stream. "Have a seat, my lady," I said, unfurling my purple cloak and placing it on the damp ground, already ruined. What did it matter if it got a little dirty? It was Shaera nodded and sat. She watched the clear water flow around a glistening stone, the apples from my pouch, and proceeded to juggle them. Meanwhile, I dug now, my fair lady. 3 of these apples are likely the juiciest, sweetest morsels you've ever tasted, I said. "And what of the 4th?" she asked, reluctantly playing my game. "Why, that one is magical. Love with the first person she sees. Although just as tasty as the others, she who bites into it will instantly fall in." The corners of Shira's mouth turned slightly upward. She said, "Then perhaps I shouldn't eat. Person, would I? I wouldn't want to take the risk of falling in love with the wrong." "Oh no, you must eat. Imbiber already loves another. Besides, I happen to know that this type of magical apple doesn't work if I caught each apple behind my back with a flourish, and then I presented one to Shaera, and without hesitation bit into the red fruit. Some juice collected on her full lips. Reason to want to be an apple before, but that day I would have given my legs to be one. She took it. Now, I've never had, "Don't you want to know which apple one gave you?" I asked. "No," she said. "It matters not which I ate." All my attempts to cheer Shaera up have only lasted for a few fleeting moments. It disturbs me when she is unhappy, but I can't blame her. She must be thinking about her father, about that night when we barely escaped the pirates ourselves. What of her father? Was he dead? Were they all dead? I have been thinking the same thing, especially since it was I who slipped the watchman a sleeping draught. If the man had been awake, he might have noticed the pirate ship in time for Grammon and the others to prepare a proper defense. I have really messed up this time. "You're thinking about your father, aren't you?" I asked during one of her quiet moments. She nodded. "We don't know what happened, Shaera. He could still be alive. From what I hear, he's a resourceful warrior. I can't help thinking that maybe we should have stayed behind. Maybe we could have helped," she said. "What could we do, Shaera? Neither of us is a warrior." My words were too harsh, too certain. Situation had been. Time of need. They didn't help. Shaera didn't want to hear how hopeless she wanted to hear that her father was alive, that she hadn't abandoned him. In his eye, took her in my arms, stroked her hair with my hand. "Your father is well, Shaera. I can feel it. Aranorn's trained warriors, right?" I said. "Those were just pirates. No mere thug can outmatch well, yes, but..." "Right. And I think it is no secret that your father loves you more than anything. Would he not have preferred that you were safe?" "Of course. So we did what he would have wanted us to do. Now we have to figure out how to find him again. He could be anywhere, Elwin. He's probably looking for me now, if he survived, that is. Yes, but when he doesn't find you, he'll know there is one place that you will certainly go. The place we were supposed to travel to in the first place. I hoped there wasn't any fault in my logic. If I were Graham, I would hope that my daughter would make her way to the nearest safe town. Known safe port? It would take too long to hike all the way back home. So why not a dolphin jump? Shaera asked. Yes, I said. Father waiting for us there. I say we make our way to Dolphin Jump as soon as we can. I'm certain we'll find your... I never thought I would lead a siege, much less win one. So many died in the long hours of battle. Luckily, most of them were the defenders of Jagged Denver. I keep telling myself they were murderers and thieves. They deserved it, but that doesn't make me feel any better about what happened. When it was certain that I would be victorious, the leader of the town ordered the entire place to be put to the torch. Don't ask me why. It makes no sense. We didn't even have a chance to enjoy our victory. Seconds after the last man fell, we heard someone cry, "Fire!" My troops and I raced among the buildings and started bucket lines to save the important structures. Homes that were unoccupied and already blazing were allowed to burn as long as they weren't too close to another structure. We fought the inferno for most of the night, and in the end we only saved half the town. So many were homeless or dead now, and for nothing. When I returned to where Shaera and a few others were tending to those who had succumbed to the smoke or had been burned by the flames, she jumped into my arms and embraced me tightly. "What is it?" "I was afraid I would lose you too," Shaera said. "Too? We're gonna find your father at Dolphin Jump. Remember? You haven't lost anyone." She nodded, hugged me again. I suddenly became very self-conscious of how I smelled. Ash and dirt had mixed into a potent odor that not even a fragrance alchemist could mask. Myself away slowly, careful not to hurt my beloved's feelings. Sweat and I pushed. "There is still much to be done," I said. While we watered the horses, I slipped upstream to see what I could do about my attire and to perhaps wash some of the grime from my body. I have never been so filthy in all my life. Some druids go on year-long sabbaticals into the deepest forests to commune with the land. I don't know how do they go so long without hot baths, fine cuisine, and music? At that point, I was never more aware that such a life was not for me. My hat was a pitiful sight with its raggedy and bent feathers and a tear along the brim caused during battle. It wasn't even worth saving, so I threw it away. There were dark stains on the knees of my trousers, and the white lace frills of my shirt were gray now due to the smoke from the town fire. If I were to walk into the elven court today, they would probably ban me for the rest of my life. A twig snapped behind me, making my heart skip a beat. Attacked me now, my troops wouldn't be able to reach me in time. Shaera stepped into view. I was unarmed and alone. If something, I was about to make a run for it when, "You really shouldn't be walking out here alone," I said. "It's not far from camp," she said. "And besides, I'm with you now." I pulled at the sleeves of my tunic, blushing. "I wish you didn't have to see me like this." "Like what?" There was a seductive softness to her voice as she moved closer to me, and my boots sunk past my ankle in the cold stream. Like an idiot, I took a step back. "Ah, from the brook, cursed wilderness, and curse me, for I make everything a shambles," I said as I extracted myself. Shaera laughed, but not in an insulting way. She was laughing at me as well as with me. "I'm sorry, Shaera," I said. "Look at me. I've become a symbol of my own ineptitude. She took another step toward me. This time I didn't retreat. Birds, Shaera said. Excuse me. Remember at the dance when you asked me what I do when I'm not capturing the hearts of men? To answer your question, I raise birds. At least I used to when I had time. Ever since I entered the elven court, I've had so many men courting me that I never seemed to have any time to myself. Well, the thought of Shaera spending time with other men made my stomach tense involuntarily. But what could I expect? I was only one of many. You should refuse some of them, I said, knowing that I might be one of those who she denied. Important that you are happy too. It's yes, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. Shaera reached up to place one of her slender hands on my shoulder. Toward her touch, I slouched slightly, bending. Then she said, "But when I heard you would be aboard the ship, it made me happy." Really? Of course. You were the only one who ever asked me what I liked to do when I was alone. No one else ever seemed to picture me alone. Not even Lord Hark, and he was always friendly and warm. I frowned at the mention of Lord Hark. Soon, the Elder Council would choose a new elven king, and everyone agreed Hark was the obvious choice. There had been much gossip about Lord Hark's infatuation with Shaera as well. I had taken a political risk when I got myself aboard Shira's ship, but I felt so strongly for her that I was even willing to throw away my hard-fought position in the elven court. I tipped my head close to Shira's and whispered, "As crazy as it sounds, I have enjoyed these days alone with you more than all my time at court, even if it destroyed my best outfit." Then Shaera kissed me on the chin. "I think you missed, my lady," I said, grinning. "Well, you're so damn tall." So, I picked her up and we kissed, this time on the lips, and it was better than I had ever imagined. "Daddy!" Shaera shouted and ran from my side. I felt her absence immediately, as if she had been torn from me forever, and wished again that our adventure wasn't yet over. But then, we couldn't have stayed in the wild for the rest of our lives, could we? Shaera jumped into Grammon's arms, hugging and kissing him happily. I don't think she truly believed he was alive until that moment. I approached slowly, allowing the two to catch up, and stayed several feet away until they were finished. Of course, Grammon had been worried about her, and had never stopped searching for her even though others believed she was dead. "I was safe, Daddy, thanks to Elwin," she said. "He saved my life." She smiled at me, and I forced myself to smile back. Grammon's expression was cold when he looked at me, knew I was the one who drugged the man in the crow's nest. So cold, in fact, that for a moment I thought young man, he said. "I cannot thank you enough for what you have done." "It was my honor, sir," I replied. "Well," Grammon said, quickly changing the subject, "I imagine the two of you could use some rest and maybe some food. Good day, Elwin, and thank you again." Wherever Grammon was taking Shaera for her meal, it was obvious that I wasn't invited, and I knew better than to press the issue. "Good day, sir," I said. I caught Shira's eye and said, "Good day, my lady. May I see you again sometime soon?" "I hope so," she said before her father whisked her away. Once again, I wished we had stayed in the woods.
Hi guys, so I have finished the first scenario, The Lovers, And yeah, it was great. It had a great story. So let me just give you a quick summary of what happened. So basically, the main character Elwin um, and his lover Shaera, and the crew was attacked by pirates while they were on a mission at sea. And so because of that, they were separated from the Shaera's father. And yeah, so in this scenario, basically the goal is to find Shaera's father. And yeah, it's just a great story. I highly recommend you guys read the story. It's very sweet, has a very lovely and lovely moments, definitely. And yeah, as for the difficulty of this scenario, to be honest, it's a little hard. You have to, I guess, have a strategy to beat this game. In this case, for me, the what's it called? The quicksand spell was very useful to prevent the melee heroes from attacking my ranged units, which in this case is the elves. To be honest, it took me 2 tries to beat this. The first time I chose tigers instead of elves, which I think was a big mistake because, to be honest, elves are just so much better because they have a good range, and so that really helped. And yeah, I also recommend you level up some of the combat skills on your hero, so that way your hero isn't that fragile, and yeah, will actually survive the enemy's attacks, as well as do a decent amount of damage to the enemies when, you know, attacking by using melee or ranged attacks. So yeah, that's how I managed to beat this scenario. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.